Hello guys, welcome to my channel. In this video I'm going to show you demo about binding country, state and city list to drop down. I'm in picker control of .NET MAUI. So let's create the project structure for it. So I just going to add views, a view model and the model. And also I'm just going to install MVVM community toolkit, so it will make easy to use command and observable property. Okay, and another plugin we needed, that Newton soft JSON for deserializing data, whatever the data come from API. Okay, so this is the get country API that I am going to use. So that response is like this: country ID, country name, and is active flag. So let's create a model for it. Okay, another model we needed, that will be state model. So API was returning state name and the state ID. So I'm just going to add that. Okay, so I have added all the required model. Now I'm just going to create a services. I'm just using iTest service name, like you can use any name. And here in interface just going to create a method that going to return country model. And this interface implementation I'm just going to add here in test service. Okay, so here API will return country list data. I'm just right now returning this empty, so later on we will integrate API here. Okay, now let me add view that we are going to display drop down options. So I'm just created page like a drop down detail page, and that view model I'm just adding in view model folder. And this view model inheriting observable object that came from MVVM community toolkit. So it's already implementing iNotify property changing, so it's easy to use. Now let me add this view model and that interface and that implementation in MAUI program.cs. So I'm just going to register it. Here I am just going to add another view model registration. And that page registration. Okay, so let me pass now drop down view model here. Okay, and the view model going to use one service that we created. Here I registered test service in MAUI program.cs, so this service now accessible in this drop down detail page view model. So I'm just binding that test service to this test service private object. Okay, here I am just now creating method get country list, and this method going to call test service dot get country list API. Okay, so now on the UI I'm just adding here picker control. So let me add one observable property for the country model. Okay, so API, whatever the API written country list that we going to add in this country list object, and that I'm just going to bind here. Item source will be this country list. Okay, let me add title here, select country, and also item display binding. Here I need to provide the property name that I want to display in the collection of items, so you can select any property from this model, country model, because we are passing item source of country list today the speaker control. So let me select country name and I just find here. Okay, now let me return some dummy country list from this API. So right now I'm just returning single country model, so let me convert it to list of country model, so it will return list of countries. Right now I just add some dummy country list. After that I will add API here. Okay, now let me add this country list. So I'm just checking if country list is available, then just add that to country list. Okay, I just need to use for each because it will return multiple country lists from API. Okay, so let me run the application. Okay, so now it's displaying to country. So let me integrate now API. So we will pass this country detail from API, and based on country selection we will display state, and after based on state selection I will display city list. Okay, so let me add API call now. So Okay, so let me select the API. I'm just going to use this API. Okay, now this API using GWT token, so I need to add that header. So let me add this token here. Right now I'm just setting token like this way, but actually for demo purpose I'm just passing this static token. Otherwise, like you need to like authenticate based on username and password, and then the token will return from the API, and that token you can pass here. So I'm just for testing purpose I'm just adding this token here. So let me copy that token. Okay, now this token I'm just going to pass here. Okay, so now this is going to return country list. Now I just need to deserialize this, so let me fetch content from here. Okay, so this API return the data in JSON format, so I'm reading as a string async, and after that I'm just let me check another level, like if response dot status code is equal to okay, means API it's returning the status code okay, means it's returning some response. After that I'm just going to deserialize this data. So let me show you. So this get country data returning in this format, but it's that country list data exists in this data object. So before that I need to use some model that will return this property, like success, is error, or like this. So let me add another model. It's called API response model. So in that I'm just going to add like if API returning success, then that data okay. So I'm just adding this right now. I'm just using this success and data. So let me just deserialize it now. Okay, so I'm just deserializing this content in this is like a read string async, so I need to use await. Now I'm just deserializing this content into this response detail, and I will just check if response detail it succeed, then just add this data in country list. So I'm just from API I'm just fetching content here, and after content I'm just deserializing into API main response, means it's returning succeed like a success flag, either true or false, and the data. So I'm just checking if the API returning like it is success and that response is not null, response the data is not null, then I'm just adding country list here, and that country list will return. Okay, so let's run the application and check it's displaying data or not. Okay, so now it's returning country list. So let me do one thing now. Let me add here loader, so when the page is open, that time it going to show here loader. So for that I'm just here going to add activity indicator. So let me add another property in drop down view model. It's like observable property is country loading. So I'm just going to set here is country loading true, and when response came, then I'm just setting as a false. And this property I'm just going to set here is visible. Okay, and another layout I'm just going to add is for select state. Okay, and here right now I'm just going to remove this sources detail this activity indicator, so we will replace this later on. Okay, so let me rerun the application and see like it's displaying that activity indicator or not. Okay, so it's displaying that activity indicator. Now based on this country selection, I'm just going to display state. So for that, first let me add API like the same way we added for get country list. I'm just going to copy this and I just set this country model to state model. So I'm just going to fetch state list based on country ID. So I'm just passing here country ID. So let me copy that API name. Right now I'm just using this API format like this. I'm just adding here static, but you can do one thing. You can create a model here like API list, and in that you can add API list like get country, then get state, like that. So this API going to return data in format of state model. Okay, so now let me add this in interface. So I'm just going to add another loading property, is called is state loading, and I'm just going to set here when API is running, so it will set this to true and false. And another thing, like we need to fetch now country ID. So for that, here in drop down detail there was another property called selected item, so that we need to set here. So selected item will be, so let me create property called, our selected item will be the type of country model. So selected country, okay, so this selected country, now I'm just binding here. Okay, for selected country I am not using something like this observable property. I am using this this like getter and setter, because when the country is selected, that time I need to call this get state list by country ID method. So for that I am just using this. So when the country is selected, I will call this get state list by country ID, and here I will pass selected country dot country ID. So I'm just check selected country is not null, then I just and here the response will be the state list. So for that I need to create another observable property of state model, and that will be state list. So this state list I'm just going to add here. So now state is loading. When this method call is time that loading flag set to true. After that API call based on country ID, it will return response, and that response will be the state that I'm just going to add in state list. Okay, now let me run the application and let's see. Okay, so now loader displaying, now country I'm just selecting. Okay, here state not displaying because we forgot to add here property. So item source will be state list, then item display binding will be a state name, and selected item we will set later on. Okay, so now it's displaying now state list. It's not showing loader also because I didn't set here property is visible. Sorry, I already have property, so just I need to bind here is state loading. Okay, okay, so when I select a country, now state is loading, and after that I can select state also. So now same way we will add now another property, another drop down for the city. Let me show you first one thing, like if I directly select a state without selecting country, then what happens. So let's see that first. Okay, so I'm clicking on state, it's showing me empty. So what I do, I will do I just make this control disable. So when like by default I will make it disable. After that, if the country is selected, then I will set it to enable. So let me create another property for is state selection enable. So I will set this property here true when the country is selected, and also I will invoke on property change name of is state enable. And this property I am just going to bind here. So let me run the application and we will see like this is selectable or not. Okay, so it's still selecting. So let me do one thing. I just wrap this is enable here. Okay, here I need to set getter and setter for this. Because then it will be a bindable property. Okay, so now it's not selecting, and let's see with stake layout also. So sorry, okay, so when I bind to stake layout, then it's clickable, and when I bind it here, then it's not clickable. Okay, so let's now add another drop down for the city. So I just copy this, select city, and I will create similar property here. So first we need to create a model of like a state model, then it will be a selected state. So here I will just set city selection true when the state is selected, and let's set that property change for now is city, and here instead of calling that state list by country ID, I will call get city by state ID. So let me now add this select state property in here in state drop down. Selected item is equal to selected state. So whatever the item I select, that's going to store in this selected state object. Now here instead of state list, I need to bind now city list. So for that, another observable collection I'm just going to create, that will be a city model and city list. So let me create now another method, it's called get city list by state ID. So let me add an is city loading property. Okay, so when the city is loading from API, that time we just set this city loading flag to true, and once it return we will set this flag to false. Okay, so I need to create now API similar of this. So let me just copy this and let me add here name get city list by state ID. Okay, so let me copy now API. Okay, now this API will return data in form of city model. So just let me set this response of city model, and I will change this to city list. Let me add this method now in interface so we can access in view model. Okay, so here now I just pass state ID, so it will fetch now get city list by state ID. Here will be the city, and that will be add in city list. Okay, so when the state is selected, here we call get city list by state ID. Okay, so now in UI this will be the city list. And then here will be city name, and this will be each city's selection enable. So okay, now let me run the application. Okay, so now if I select state and city directly, so it is disabled. Now if I select country, then it's loading state, and if I select city, still it's not selectable. Now on the selection of state, it's loading city, and it's displaying here. So just let me add some, because it's a re-adding. When I select any other option, then it's adding all the city here. So for that we just need to clear data before adding, so I just add here city list but clear. And the same thing I will add here for the state list also. So now let me run the application. Okay, so now on the selection of country, displaying state, and after it's displaying that city. Now if I change here from another, then it's again going to clear, and let us select this. Okay, so that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching video.